Hello, writers, and welcome back to Spooky Writes. My name's Kemal Onor, and on today's episode, we're going to be focusing in on side characters. So, cue that thunder and lightning, and let's get into it.
Okay, right.
So, side characters are are the type of characters who are there to assist the protagonist. They're not the focal point of the story. These might be characters who are there in a scene. They might be in a few scenes. Um, they might even be an assistant to your protagonists. They might be in the room during a lot of the events, but most of the time, side characters are characters who are in one or maybe one or more scenes within a story, within a novel, and these characters usually are very small in their side characters are typically characters who are not the focal point of the story. They are characters who are on the periphery of the story. They might be in a scene, they might be in one interaction with your protagonist. They might simply be a character that passes by. They might have a little bit of dialogue within a novel or a story, but they are not the focal point of the novel or the story. And because of this, this leads to a lot of side characters being one note, being two dimensional characters. And that's what we want to avoid as writers, as authors. We want to be creating fully depth characters, whether they're our protagonist or our antagonist. We want to create side characters who, although they might be in a single scene, they still should have depth to them. And the best way to come about thinking about, does your story need to have a side character in it, is this character serving a function within the story, or could this scene be done with just the protagonist or just the antagonist? Is there a need for this side character to be here? How does this character add to the overall experience of the story? How does it move the plot of the story? How does it add to the depth of the protagonist or the antagonist within your story? And so thinking about, do you really need these side characters within your story or within your novel is going to be critical to whether or not you actually do need a side character within your story. And if we're thinking about side characters as characters who show up for a scene, maybe it's the old man who says, "Here, take this sword. It will help you on your journey to go slay the dragon." Or it's the character who teaches the protagonist how to shoot weapons better. How it's the protagonist person who helps aid the protagonist on his or her journey. And so it might even be the character at the gas station who is there to help check the protagonist out after he or she fills up their car with gas. You might have a character that's, again, in a single scene, a character who is only there for a moment, but you need to ask yourself, as the author, as the writer, what purpose does this character serve of having him or her be in this scene with your protagonist, with your main characters, with your focal characters? So you very much want to think about, is this side character serving a purpose? And if you say yes, this side character is serving a purpose, this side character is pivotal to the story, especially in short stories. In short stories, every single character has to be serving a function. Otherwise, there is no need for that character to be within the story. Short stories are much more limited in their economy of words, so therefore you have to be more meticulous with your choosing of scenes. So having a character walk into a coffee shop and drink a cup of coffee and have a dialogue with the waitress, maybe you don't need that scene in your short story because it's going to take away from the overall story that you're trying to tell within a short story form. It's perfectly fine to have those scenes within a novel, though. And so, again, you want to be very critical about what characters you allow into your story, what characters are serving a function, how are they adding to the story at large. And side characters are one of those characters that a lot of starting authors, a lot of beginning writers will just have them in there for a single note, and we as readers we don't have any idea about who or what he or she is doing in this story and what purpose do they serve. maybe your protagonist walks into a hotel room and they have an exchange with a bellhop, or they have an exchange with someone at the front desk. How can you you want to think about how can you present this character as being more than just the bellhop? Again, thinking about what interests might what certain ticks might this character have. Maybe this character is nervous. Maybe they're constantly fidgeting. Maybe they have a copy of Hemingway's The Sun Always Rises on the desk with them because they like to read while they're waiting for new people to come in and check in to the hotel, because it's a hotel that's out of the way and doesn't have a lot of people checking into it. So thinking about ways that you can add depth to even your side characters. As we've been talking, we want to have depth to all of our characters, whether they're the protagonist, the antagonist, and especially with our side characters, because side characters tend to be the most flimsy characters that beginning writers will create, because they're only in a few scenes. They're not the focal point of the story. You also don't want to go overboard by creating a side character that outshines your protagonist or outshines your antagonist. You want to create side characters that serve their function, come into the scene, do what they need to do, and then they go on their way. But we don't want them to be cookie cutter, stamp and print characters. We don't want it to just be a character who has a single note. Again, thinking about ways that you can create depth without pausing the story and giving exposition upon exposition of the side character's backstory. And so thinking about whether or not you even need to have this character in your story in the first place. What function is this side character serving? And can this side character be absolved into another character? Or maybe you take a whole bunch of side characters and you morph that character into one character that serves more, has a stronger presence within the story, rather than having 5 or 6 random side characters that keep popping into the story and say, "Hi, I'm here," and then they leave on their way. So thinking about being critical with your side characters and thinking about ways that you can also add to their personality, giving them depth, so that it's not just, who's this side character? Oh, he's just the random bellhop. He's the cashier at the grocery store. He's the cashier at the gas station. He helps our protagonist by giving him directions to where the protagonist is trying to go to. Maybe there's subtle ways and subtle gestures that your side character can talk. Again, thinking about what might the side character have in their pockets? What might the side character have on their clothing? Do they have a necklace? What does that say about them? In very short, subtle ways that you can create stronger, more interesting side characters. So that's going to be it for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep it spooky. If you like this type of content, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and comment below and let me know what you want to see next. I cover all topics of writing on this channel. It's all about becoming a better writer, about how we can improve as writers on this journey to being an author, on this journey of writing in the modern day and age. So again, thank you so much.